My parents demanded I pay them back for raising me, itemizing every expense since birth. I never imagined that being someone's child could come with a price tag. Yet here I am, stunned and heartbroken after my parents handed me an itemized bill for raising me, every expense since the day I was born, meticulously listed. I'm a 26-year-old woman, and until recently, I thought I had a decent, if not perfect, relationship with my parents. We've had our ups and downs, sure, but nothing prepared me for this level of cold, transactional betrayal. For context, I moved out of my parents' home 4 years ago after college. I have a stable job now, and I pay all my own bills. My parents, both in their mid-50s, are not destitute by any means. They both work and own their home outright. We've always been a middle-class family. They've never directly asked me for money before, though they've joked occasionally about me being their retirement plan in the past. I always laughed it off, assuming it was just their dark humor. Now I'm not so sure it was a joke. This nightmare started 2 weeks ago at what I thought was going to be a casual Sunday family dinner. I visit my parents every other Sunday to catch up. That evening, after we finished eating, my dad cleared his throat and said he and Mom had something serious to discuss with me. I remember an odd chill running through me. Their tone was so formal. My mom reached beside the couch and pulled out a thick binder. She placed it on the coffee table in front of me. On the cover were the words, "My name, account ledger." I actually let out a small laugh, thinking it was a joke, or maybe some scrapbook they made for me. I said, "What is this, some kind of memory book?" My mom's face was pinched, and my dad had this stern, expectant look. He said, "This is a record of all the expenses we've incurred raising you for the last 26 years. We expect you to begin paying it back immediately." I swear I thought I misheard him. I looked at both of them in disbelief and managed a half chuckle. "You're tallying up what you spent on me? Why?" My mom sighed like I was the one being dense or difficult. She opened the binder to the first page and slid it toward me. I started to read, and my eyes widened. They had itemized everything: hospital bills from my birth, diapers, baby formula, clothes, birthday party supplies, school textbooks. Even the proportion of the utility bills and groceries they estimated were due to my existence in the household. It was insane. They literally had entries like diapers, age 0 to 2, $2,798. Birthday parties, ages 1 to 18, $7,450. School lunch money, K-12. $6,000 electricity usage share, age 0 to 18, $4,320. Electricity usage, tuition, and fees. This one, according to their ledger, the grand total was around $130,000, which they helpfully circled in red ink and underlined. $130,000. And, apparently, they expect me to pay all of it back. At this point, I was still convinced this had to be some twisted prank. I think I said something along the lines of, "You can't be serious." But they were. Oh, they were dead serious. My dad said, in a slow, deliberate voice, the way he talked to me when I was in trouble as a kid, "We are absolutely serious. We kept records for a reason." My mom chimed in softly, "We love you, dear, but you're an adult now. It's time to take responsibility for the cost of your upbringing. We sacrificed a lot to give you a good life." My mouth was dry. I felt like I was in some alternate universe where parents charging their offspring for being born was normal. I was so flabbergasted I didn't even know how to argue yet. I just started saying, "This is insane. You chose to have me. Every parent is supposed to provide for their kid, not treat it as a loan to collect later. That's just part of being a parent." My dad's face hardened. "And part of being an adult child is supporting your parents. We're not asking for interest, just the principal amount back." He tapped the binder. "We have every right to this. If it weren't for us, you wouldn't be where you are. You owe us for everything we've done for you." I could not believe what I was hearing. At this point, my shock was turning into anger and hurt. My voice started shaking. I told them, "Parents are supposed to raise their kids because they want to, not because they expect a payout at the end. You're basically telling me I was nothing but an investment to you." My mom tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away. There were tears in her eyes, but something about them felt off, like they were more out of self-pity than remorse. "Honey," she said, "we have done so much for you. We paid for your education. We gave you a comfortable life. All we're asking is you honor that by repaying us now that you're successful. It's not like we're asking for interest. Just pay back what we spent over time. Think of it like a family loan. She actually chuckled as if that phrasing made it more palatable. I stood up, heart pounding. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. I've been anxious in front of my parents before. My dad can be very intimidating when angry, but this was a new level of surreal. I felt like I was viewing them as strangers. "No," I said firmly. "This is not normal. This is not okay. You don't get to charge me for raising me." I actually used air quotes around "charge me," which made my dad scowl deeper. Dad raised his voice. "Don't use that tone with us. We didn't have to give you the life we did. You think your college was cheap? You think feeding and clothing you for 18 years was easy? You're an adult living on your own because of our support. It's payback time." The phrase payback time really hit me hard. The casual cruelty of it, like I was a misbehaving borrower. At this point, I was in tears. I yelled something like, "If you couldn't afford to have a kid, you shouldn't have had one. I never asked to be born." That is such a cliché line to throw at parents, and I hadn't said anything like that since I was an angsty teen, but it truly slipped out in that moment. My mom gasped quietly, and my dad's eyes went wide with rage. He's the kind of person who hates any perceived disrespect. He stood up too, and for a second I flinched because it looked like he might actually hit me. He never has, but he looked furious enough to. Instead, he jabbed his finger at the binder. "This is not up for debate," he said in a low voice full of barely controlled anger. "You will repay every cent we spent on you. It might take years, but you will. That's what decent children do. They take care of their parents. Do you want to see us homeless and destitute? Because that's where we'll be if you don't do your duty." That stunned me. Homeless and destitute? My parents have a paid-off house, and they both still work. They live comfortably, maybe not extravagantly, but definitely not on the verge of homelessness. For him to say that, it felt like manipulation. And also, if they truly were in dire straits, why not just tell me that and ask for help? Why dress it up as this absurd debt from my childhood? I realized in that moment that this was about something more than just needing money. There was a tone in my dad's voice. Pride? Power? Like he'd won something. And my mom, through her tears, looked strangely relieved that he was backing her up and being the bad guy demanding it. It was as if they'd planned this, rehearsed even. I grabbed the binder and flipped through more pages, incredulous and shaking. There were even notes and margins next to some items. Next to the entry for my high school tutoring, I struggled in math junior year, and they hired a tutor for a few months. My mom had written, "She didn't even try hard enough, needed extra help." Next to the entry for my prom dress, she wrote, "Only wore once." It felt like reading a file on how I had been a burden and disappointment in dollars and cents. I slammed it shut. "I can't do this. I'm not doing this," I said hoarsely. "I need to go." My mom started sobbing openly as I headed for the door, begging me, "Please, we need you to understand. We aren't rich. We spent our best years and money on you." My dad barked over her, crying, "If you walk out of here without agreeing, consider it a refusal to support your own parents. We'll consider it abandonment." I shot back, "You consider this parenting?" and walked out, slamming the door behind me. As I got in my car, I could still hear my mom wailing, and my dad shouting something indecipherable. I drove off in a haze of tears, nearly running a stop sign on the way home because I was so distraught. I spent that night at my apartment, alternating between angry ranting and devastated sobbing. I felt like an idiot too. I called my best friend around midnight, and through my crying, I actually asked, "Am I crazy, or is this completely fucked up?" She had to practically yell through the phone, "This is batshit insane, not you. This is not normal at all." She urged me not to give them a cent, that I owed them nothing beyond maybe basic respect as parents if they earned it, which clearly they weren't right now. The thing is, deep down I know she's right. I have read stories about toxic parents treating their kids like investments or burdens, but I never, ever imagined my parents would be those people. It's like everything good I remember is now tainted. Was every birthday gift or vacation just another line in their ledger to hold over my head? The thought makes me feel sick. I also feel this crushing guilt, which I hate. A part of me keeps wondering if maybe they do really need money and just handled it in the worst way possible. Why else would they pull something so drastic? If they were just greedy, why wait until now? Why such a formal approach? I started second-guessing. Are they in debt? Is one of them sick and medical bills are mounting? My mind's been in overdrive, trying to rationalize their behavior. The day after the confrontation, I got an email from my father. It was basically a payment plan. He reiterated that the debt was tilled $130,000 and said they expected a minimum of $1,000 a month, starting immediately. He added that if I couldn't make a full payment some month, I should inform them ahead of time, and that the interest-free grace period, his actual words, was conditional on my cooperation. Attached was the damn Excel spreadsheet version of the binder, with formulas and all, so I could keep track of the balance alongside them. I felt my blood boil reading it. It read like he was my creditor, not my dad. I didn't respond. I just couldn't. Over the next few days, I ignored several calls from my mother. I couldn't handle it. I needed time to think. I did text her once, saying I was not ready to talk, and that what they did was unbelievably hurtful. She replied with a long text about how much they love me and how they need me to step up now. She said, "We believe in you and know you can repay us this money. We're even willing to take monthly payments to make it easier. Families help each other, and it's time you help us." The guilt tripping was intense. I've barely slept properly in 2 weeks. I've had nightmares of being handed giant bills or of my parents laughing villainously as I sign over my paychecks. My work is starting to suffer because I'm so preoccupied. I haven't told anyone at work, obviously, but a colleague friend noticed I looked wrecked and I ended up unloading on her after hours. She was horrified, especially since she's a mom too. She said that's beyond messed up. Parents should never expect to be paid back for raising their kid. It's part of the job. She also pointed out something that's been gnawing at me. Her theory is that maybe my parents are doing this not just for money, but to control me. If I start paying them every month, I'll be under their thumb indefinitely. It's like financial control disguised as a debt. When she said that, it clicked uncomfortably in my brain. My dad has always been a bit controlling, it's true. He hated when I moved out of state for college. I came back to our hometown after graduating, and he's made comments about how I'm too independent at times, like when I bought my car on my own instead of letting him co-sign. At the time, I brushed those off as typical parent worry or pride issues. Now I wonder if he resents that I don't rely on them at all anymore. I feel so conflicted and broken. Part of me wants to just cut them off completely. Go nuclear. Say, if money is what you care about, fine, you'll get nothing from me, not even a relationship. Another part of me is desperate for this to be fixed. I don't want to lose my parents, as crazy as they're acting. I want my mom's gentle hugs and my dad's corny jokes, the versions of them I thought were real. I keep hoping this is some bizarre test or that they'll snap out of it. Yesterday, I finally mustered the courage to call my mother. I intentionally called when I knew my dad would likely be at work, so I could maybe get her alone. She answered, and she sounded so worried, saying she was about to call me again. I told her calmly that what they're asking for is deeply hurtful and not normal. I asked her why they were doing this. Is there something going on financially or health-wise that they're not telling me? I even pleaded. If you just need money for something important, you know I'd help if I can. But framing it like, I owe you for my life, I can't accept that. She got quiet for a moment. I could hear her sighing. I hoped maybe I was getting through. But then she said, "We already explained this to you. We feel it's only fair. We invested in you, and now it's your turn to invest in us." My heart sank. I tried again, asking if this was Dad's idea or both of them together. She got upset at that, saying, "Don't try to pin this on him or me. We both agree. You owe us this. We both sacrificed so much." The call went in circles. At one point, I broke down and cried into the phone, asking how she could do this to me. She started crying too, saying she never wanted to upset me. But they have given me everything, and I've given so little in return. That floored me. Given so little? I thought we had a normal relationship. I tried to call them, visit, I got them nice gifts for holidays and birthdays even on my tight budget after college. I never imagined they were keeping some invisible scorecard of what we give and what you give back. I asked her, what about love? What about being there for each other? Isn't that what family is supposed to do, without tallying dollars? She just kept saying I wouldn't understand until I have my own kids, how much it takes. And that then I'd realize why it's only right to show appreciation by paying them back. It was such a twisted logic, I didn't even know how to respond. Finally, I asked bluntly, what happens if I refuse to pay? She got really quiet and then in a trembling voice said, I don't want to consider you refusing. That would break our hearts. We'd see it as you abandoning us after everything. And she added, your father would likely take legal action. He's looked into it. I almost dropped the phone. Legal action? On what grounds? I know there are some cultures or legal systems where parents can maybe claim support from adult children, but as far as I know, that's not really a thing here for past expenses, only maybe for ongoing elder care, if that. The fact they even talked to a lawyer or pretended to, that is beyond extreme. I shakily told my mom, if you sue me for this, you'll just be proving that all you care about is money, not me. She started sobbing that I was twisting it around on them and that they have the right to ask for this. We ended the call with no resolution, both of us just crying. She said through tears, "Please think about it. We're waiting for your answer." I haven't responded to my dad's email or given any answer. It's just been silence for a couple of days since that call. I needed to write this all out because I feel like I'm losing my mind. My friends are all telling me this is completely messed up, and I believe them, but it's just so hard to accept that my parents, the people who tucked me in at night and cheered at my graduations, have reduced our relationship to a line-item bill. I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't agreed to anything, but I fear the storm that's coming when I outright say no. They might disown me or actually try to sue. A part of me wonders if I should just pay something, anything, to keep them in my life, but then I feel sick at the thought, because that's not love, that's extortion. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Right now I'm just not replying to them until I figure out my next steps. I'm so emotionally exhausted and sad. How could they do this to me? How do I even begin to process the idea that, to my parents, love was transactional? I feel like an orphan with living parents. I guess I'll update when I have the strength or if anything major happens next. For now, I'm just broken. Update 1. Hi everyone. I didn't expect to have an update so soon, but things have escalated in ways I couldn't have imagined. It's been about a week since my original post, which blew up far more than I expected. Thank you sincerely to everyone who reached out. I can't describe how validating it was to hear that I'm not crazy. In that time, the situation with my parents has only gotten more intense and messy. I ended up telling my grandmother, my mom's mom, about what happened. I hadn't meant to involve extended family, but Grandma sensed something was wrong when she saw my mom looking distraught and pressed me for answers. So I told her everything, crying as I described the bill and their demand. Grandma was mortified. She kept saying, "This isn't right at all. I don't know what's gotten into them." She vowed to speak to my parents. A couple of days later, I got a furious call from my dad. He was livid that I dragged family into our private business. He accused me of trying to turn his own mother-in-law against them. I responded that maybe he shouldn't be doing something so appalling if he didn't want others to know. That set him off. He shouted that I was ungrateful, and always have been, and that this just proves it because I won't even consider helping them after all they've done for me. I'm not proud of it, but I lost my temper too. I yelled that normal parents don't financially blackmail their kids and that he and mom were acting crazy. I told him flat out I was not going to pay $130,000 and they were going to lose me if they kept this up. He yelled back that I was the one destroying our family by refusing to honor the sacrifices they made. Then he dropped the bombshell. They had talked to a lawyer. I remember his exact words. "We've spoken to a lawyer. If you won't do what's right, we have options to compel you." Hearing that made my heart stop. I stammered, "You're seriously going to sue your own daughter?" And he replied coldly, "You're the one forcing our hand. We hope it won't come to that, but we're prepared to do what's necessary." After that call, I had a full-on panic attack. Thank God my friend was with me. She'd come over to check on me and heard the shouting. She calmed me down and we started frantically researching filial responsibility laws, basically laws requiring adult children to support parents. From what we gathered, my parents have no legal ground to demand reimbursement for past expenses, especially since they're not impoverished. It's intended for cases of destitute elderly parents, not this. I emailed my parents to tell them that I know my legal rights, and that if they actually sue me, not only will it likely get thrown out, but our relationship will be permanently destroyed. I hoped a stern reality check might back them off. It didn't. Instead, I got an email from an attorney representing my parents. I nearly had a heart attack when I saw a law firm letterhead. The lawyer's message was basically a formal demand. It claimed I have a moral and legal obligation to repay my parents, cited vague, equitable principles, and suggested we try mediation to settle on a payment plan to preserve family harmony. It was absolutely surreal. My parents actually hired a lawyer to go after me, as if I'm some delinquent client. I was furious and devastated all over again. This showed they're beyond serious. The irony of them spending money on a lawyer while claiming they need money from me is not lost on me either. It feels like this has turned into my dad's twisted mission, a pride thing or a power play. I called my mom after getting the lawyer's email, desperate to reason with her one last time. She answered, but she sounded very cold, not the usual timid tone. I suspect my dad was with her or had coached her. I softly said, "Mom, you guys really hired a lawyer? Is that what you want?" She replied, "We wouldn't have to if you were reasonable. We gave you every chance, dear. We begged you." She was speaking to me like I was a misbehaving child. It made something in me snap. I told her this was unforgivable. Suing your own child, threatening legal action, how could they ever expect us to be okay again after this? I asked her, didn't she feel even a little strange itemizing love and turning family into a transaction? Didn't she miss me? Didn't she wish this could all stop and we'd just be a normal family again? For a moment I heard her quiet sniffling, like she was holding the phone away, and I could tell she was crying. I waited, thinking maybe I was getting through. But when she came back on the line, her voice was flat and resigned. She said, "This is the path your choices have put us on. We have to see it through now. We can't turn back empty-handed." Empty-handed. As if a relationship with me, her daughter, is empty if there's no money in hand. That was it for me. I quietly said I was sorry she felt that way and hung up. I haven't spoken to either of them directly since. Right now, I'm in defense mode. I consulted a lawyer of my own to draft a response to their attorney. It's just so insane typing my parents' attorney and my attorney in the same sentence. This is the reality now. My lawyer basically said not to worry. The case, if they file, would likely be dismissed, but I do have to formally respond to any legal correspondence. We drafted a letter stating that I deny any indebtedness, that I consider their claims frivolous, and warning that I might pursue legal fees from them if they drag me to court without basis. Emotionally, I'm a wreck, but I'm also angry enough now that the sadness is sort of numbed. They really seem content to paint me as the villain. I heard, through Grandma, who was distraught, and in the middle of this, poor woman, that my parents are telling the extended family that I refuse to help them in their old age, and that I'm influenced by greedy ideas. My mom apparently told Grandma that internet people have poisoned me against them. I mean, yes, I got a lot of support from commenters, but my stance was solid before that. Still, they're blaming everyone but themselves. So here I am, gearing up for an ugly legal fight that I can't believe is with the people who gave me life. I doubt they'll actually get what they want through court, but the fact that they're willing to go this far is soul-crushing. I'll update again if/when something major happens, but at this rate, it looks like we're headed to a courtroom showdown. I can't believe I'm saying that about my own parents. Update 2. I wish I had better news, but this will likely be my final update. The situation reached its climax, and it's not a happy ending. In the weeks since my last update, my parents did go through with filing a lawsuit against me. We went through a court-mandated mediation first. The court wanted us to try to settle this without a trial, probably because the judge saw how messed up it was. The mediation was yesterday, and it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. Sitting across a conference table from my mom and dad, with a neutral mediator and our lawyers present, felt utterly surreal. My parents looked so formal and distant, not at all like the people who raised me. My mom wouldn't even make eye contact. My dad stared daggers at me the entire time. They reiterated their demand for $130,000, as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world. Their lawyer actually brought a PowerPoint presentation of the itemized expenses, complete with charts showing how much they spent on me per year. I sat there feeling like I was in the Twilight Zone, watching my father calmly explain to the mediator how they invested in my future, and now I was defaulting on a family contract. My hands were shaking under the table from rage and sadness. My lawyer and I stated very clearly that there is no legal basis for their claim. The mediator, an older gentleman, seemed to agree that this was not something a court would enforce. He repeatedly asked my parents, "Are you sure you want to proceed with this? Lawsuits between family members are very damaging. Perhaps there's a way to reconcile, outside of money." He even asked them if there was something else underlying this, like financial hardship or a misunderstanding. I appreciated that he tried to talk sense into them, but it fell on deaf ears. My dad became increasingly agitated the more the mediator questioned the validity of their case. He finally snapped. "We didn't come here to debate our rights as parents. We came to get our daughter to fulfill her obligations." I responded, as calmly as I could, that I have no obligation to put a price on my upbringing. I said, looking directly at my parents, "I love you, but what you're doing is wrong. You're going to lose me forever if you go on with this." My mom finally spoke up then, voice trembling. "We don't want to lose you, but we don't want to lose what we put into you either. We deserve some security after all we sacrificed." The mediator tried to steer it towards a compromise, asking, "What would feeling secure look like to you? Is there a smaller amount or non-monetary support that could resolve this?" I was silent because honestly I didn't want to agree to any amount on principle. But before I could even consider it, my dad slammed his hand on the table, startling everyone. He said, "No, we're not here to haggle. She owes all of it. We're not settling for less." He glared at me and added with venom, unless she wants to offer something right now, an apology and a commitment to start paying. Otherwise, we have nothing more to say. I felt a lump in my throat. I said quietly, "I'm sorry, but I'm not going to agree to that." My voice cracked, but I meant it. I wasn't going to sign my life away. At that, my father stood up abruptly and said, "Then we're done here." He gathered his papers like he was ready to storm out. The mediator tried to protest, but my dad was beyond listening. My mom also stood, wringing her hands, tears in her eyes, but still glued to my dad's side. In that moment, I knew it was over. Not just the mediation, but us. Desperate and crying, I pleaded one last time. "Please don't do this. We can still drop this and try to fix things between us. I don't want to lose my family." My dad turned to me, face red and eyes wild, and practically spat out. "You made this choice. If you won't pay us back, then as far as I'm concerned, you're not our daughter anymore." His words echoed in the room. Even the mediator looked stricken hearing that. My mom closed her eyes, sobbing silently, but she didn't contradict him. She just whispered, "I'm sorry, but we need this," almost to herself, not even clearly to me. I was shaking and in tears. I managed to say, "I hope someday you realize what you've done," or something along those lines. I honestly don't remember my exact words, because I was on the verge of collapse. I left the room on unsteady legs, with my lawyer guiding me out while my parents stayed behind with theirs. That's the last time I will ever see them, I think. The case will be dismissed, since obviously no agreement was reached and their claim has no merit. My lawyer later told me that, after I left, the mediator basically told my parents they should drop it because they'd never win. Apparently my parents reluctantly agreed to withdraw the suit, so legally I'm in the clear. But emotionally, I'm shattered. My parents essentially disowned me on the spot when I wouldn't give in. There was no hug, no parting words of love or reconciliation, just my father's cold declaration and my mother's quiet acquiescence. I drove home from that mediation, with tears blurring my vision, knowing that in their eyes I'm no longer their child, just a failed investment.